It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought us to the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained by rational principles the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the powerful Kingdom of England and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and he explained it in ways that were understandable to the people, to all of the people. A great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we are able to reason, we're able to talk to each other, we're able to listen to each other, and we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it. Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back again with Rudy's Common Sense. And today we have as a guest the Hall of Fame, unbelievably great football player, Herschel Walker, but also quite a knowledgeable man, quite a broad, well-educated man, and a person who has very, very strong views and very, very perceptive ones about what's going on right now. So it's a great pleasure, Herschel, to be able to get to talk to you.
Well, thank you.
And particularly since you just played a significant role at the convention.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you first about your relationship with Donald Trump, how that came about and how you see him, having known him for over 35 years, is it?
Yes, 37 years.
37 years.
Yes,
goodness.
so
That's
I've known
longer
him
than I know.
way more than half of my life. It's interesting. You know, when I first met President Trump, you know, it was he bought a football team, New Jersey Generals, in 1983. He bought the New Jersey Generals, and I just heard about this new, young, flamboyant guy was going to buy the team, and I didn't know who he was. But one thing that was very interesting is when he bought the team, he called me up to Trump Towers. And I remember my wife going to Trump Towers going, wow, this is huge. And it was beautiful. And we sit down and we talk. And then I went out to his house in Connecticut and got to know him and not little Donald no more, but Donald Jr.
But he was little Donald then.
He was little Donald then. You know, he and I started doing some things together, little baby, and I started telling him, you know, if you ever want to, I could take you to the zoo and do this here, and I think that probably was the weirdest thing I could have said, because all of a sudden the next thing I know, I'm taking him to the zoo and to Disney World and all these different places.
Where were you in your career at this point?
You know, this was my second year in pro football.
And where were your first year?
My first year was in the 83 with the New Jersey Generals, because
Right.
New Jersey Generals was owned by a guy by the name of Walter Duncan.
I remember that, right.
And he sold the team to Donald Trump. So
Right.
that was my second year as a professional football player. And, you know, and I'm from South Georgia. You know, people are people, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know, and you know, this is what's interesting, is I never measure people by money. You know, I've never done anything for money.
Right.
I do it because I love to do it. I do it because, you know, my mom is a minister, and my mom said, you know, everyone, we're the same. In God's eyes, we're the same. There's no one better than anyone else. So, you know, I didn't see Donald as this flamboyant, wealthy guy. I didn't even know he had this amount of money. But it wouldn't matter to me, because I started getting to know him as a person. And as I got to know him as a person, we became friends. Like, we would talk and do different things, and next thing I know is I'm going over to his house for dinner, or we're meeting somewhere for dinner, and we're just talking about life, not even about football.
Right.
So we became friends, and the next thing I know, now I'm friends with the whole family, and
Right.
And from then on, we've been friends ever since.
So you've maintained that?
We've maintained the friendship.
Did you leave the Generals first, or did he sell the Generals?
No, I left the Generals first, because remember we went through that big lawsuit.
I remember that.
And the USFL, you know, it went through the lawsuit,
Right.
and then I was drafted by the Cowboys.
Right.
And this was interesting. A lot of people don't know this, and you'll know this about me. I didn't grow up playing football. I had a speech impediment. I was overweight. I was a little goofy kid, and I didn't love myself. And so
That's all very, very interesting for young people to hear.
Yeah, but and I didn't know what to do. I was bullied. I was bullied a lot, which later
hard
on
to believe that Herschel Walker would
I
be
was
bullied.
I was overweight. I was bullied, and I used to read a lot of books and stuff. And I had a coach that just took me after church on Sunday and started working me out, and I started feeling better about myself. And I got beat up my last day of school in 8th grade, and that opened my eyes. And that's the day I started working out, and things changed for me.
Is that how you decided to be an athlete?
Well, I don't know whether I decided
first
to be
you got yourself in shape.
Well, this was interesting. I don't think I ever decided to be an athlete. I decided to compete, but not just compete in athletic, but compete in life.
Right.
I was told by my parents, no matter what you do it well. And I don't care what job you have, you do it well. And the reason I started playing football was just to get out of doing chores around the house. I thought it would get me out of doing chores around the house, but it didn't. But that's the reason I started playing football. And because I was playing, I had to do it well. And whenever I try to do anything, I study it. And I started reading about football, like techniques.
I remember hearing that you learned football by reading about it.
That's how I learned. And like I said, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to go out and do it at my hardest.
But then, how did you become a running back? What
was interesting is, I played whatever the coach wanted me to play. And I happened to be in a game, and that was a senior at that time. He was a running back. He ended up getting injured. And I remember my coach that started working with me said, "Why don't you put Herschel there?" And the coach put me there in this game, and I remember I only went in in the second quarter, but I had over 200 yards.
In the second quarter?
I went in the second quarter, had 200 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Well, so then you became the running back.
No, I didn't.
No.
They moved me to the fullback and moved the senior back to the running back. So I didn't even get a chance to even play running back at that time.
And the fullback was more or less the blocking back?
And the blocking back. Yeah, I didn't do anything. They didn't give me the ball at all.
After you got 5 touchdowns, did they give you the ball?
No, I didn't get the ball at all.
I'd have given it to you once or twice.
No, not that much at all. I was blocking, which I hated. But what was so great about it, I was a linebacker. I was a linebacker as well.
On defense, because you played both ways.
And
I can see that.
Going into my junior year, they decided to let me play running back, and I went out and played running back, linebacker, and I was a punter on the team as well and stuff. And so I ended up getting scholarship, not just athletically. I got academic scholarship. Because this kid that had a speech impediment, overweight, I started because I was reading all the time, and that's why I encourage all the young kids out there to read, grab books out and read, and that's why it hurts sometimes when I see that some kids are not at the reading level that they should be at, and I say
that's so important, isn't it?
It's very important because when you read and when you have an education, you're able to say no to certain things like drugs.
Yes,
yeah, able to say no to certain things, and I believe in education. I believe in education, and I think not just an African American thing. It's a America thing. Right. Education is for everyone. It's not just for one group, and right. I think education is a huge key to everything.
We'll be back with Herschel Walker in a moment. I couldn't believe we were evicted from our home that we didn't even sell. Those are the words of a homeowner, Deborah, when she learned she was the victim of home title fraud. It's a devastating crime that can cost you your home, and title fraud is not covered by insurance or common identity theft services. The only folks to trust that I know of to protect your home's title is Home Title Lock. Cyber thieves have discovered the titles to our homes are kept online. They forge your name on your deed stating you sold your home, and they refile as the new owner. In Deborah's case, she didn't even know she was a victim until the eviction notice arrived in her mail. Home Title Lock protects you and your home by putting a virtual barrier around your home's title. The instant they detect tampering, they mobilize to shut it down. Go online to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim and don't know it. Then use code RUDY, that's me, and sign up for 30 free days of protection. That's code RUDY at HometitleLock.com. We are back with our very, very interesting interview with Herschel Walker. Well, reading is really critical now because the media is so biased and so it gives you just one side.
Yes.
If you don't have the capacity to read some of the background you're gonna get conned all the time.
Well, you don't know, and it's sad to me, and it hurts me because I'm from the South. I'm from the deep South. People work hard. They when they come home, they may turn on the news. They're gonna watch one station. Well, now the news is not about giving you the news; it's giving you their opinion.
Right.
So whatever station they're watching is a station that giving that opinion. So they assume certain things, so they're not reading.
Right.
And that's what I try to encourage people is, you guys, you got to learn on your own. And that's why it hurt me when I kept hearing things about this president here. And,
like what?
About he was a racist.
Right.
I kept hearing this about racist and all the different things about it. Not just that, about the way he was. And I'm sitting back. And President Trump has never asked me to speak for him.
Is that right?
He's never asked me to speak
So
for him.
you did it
I did that on my own.
on your own?
Had nothing to do with that. The reason I did it on my own, and I tell people this, is I love America. I'm a Christian. I love America. I will fight for America. And I will promise you right now, I will die for America. And the reason why is this is the best country in the world. It has given me the privilege to be where I am today, and I'm going to thank it for it. And I tell people this, when I was on the Olympic team, the bobsled team, it was Winter Olympic. That's mostly white.
Right.
But what's wild about it, I couldn't have been more proud of myself to be on a team, to see the America team come together. Because I know we're the greatest country in the world.
Who was on that team?
Oh, geez, I was on the bobsled team with Brian Scheimer, and he was
The bobsled team.
Yes, and he was from Florida. I'm from Georgia.
How did you teach yourself bobsled?
A book, because I didn't know anything about
Wait a second,
bobsled.
you come from the South.
You're right.
There's not a lot of bobsledding in the South.
I can compete. Herschel Walker can compete, and that's what I tell people. I can compete, and that's what I am, and that's what I tell people. But that's what I was saying about this president here, is I was sitting back and I was listening to all this, and he never asked me to speak. And I'm not a politician, and I'm not, I vote and this and that, and I do my little thing, and I said, wait a minute, this is not right. I said, what's not right is seeing what is happening and you don't say anything.
Right.
You don't speak up. And I said,
really amazing.
Wait a minute. I vote and you're thinking that's enough. That's not enough. You have to speak out. You have to have voice. And I said, I want to say something about this president. This president, first of all, is not a racist. This president, first of all, love America. I said it in 1985. This guy could be president of the United States in 1985 because I saw the way he loved the United States of America. This president here loves his kids.
So how did you who'd you say that to? How did that come about?
I was doing
1985.
In 1985, I was walking down the street doing an interview, and it was the paper, New York Times or some paper in 1985. And I remember walking down the street with President Trump. We were going down the street, they was interviewing me. And I said, this guy, he can be president of the United States of America. And I said, because that's when they loved him. Yeah. Because he loved America.
Yeah.
All he talked about was America. He didn't want to go outside and do any of his business. He wanted to stay right in America. Right. And I said, he loved America. This guy need to be president. And I went on. And I said, this is the man right here today. When he said, make America great again, people think that's a racial term because what he's talking about, going back to the South, going back whatever. I was like, God, make America great again is greater than what my father had.
Right.
Greater than what his father had.
Right.
Greater than where his father was.
Right.
And I said, you can take it and do whatever you want with it, but when you make it a racist, that means you're the racist.
Yeah.
You're looking at it that way. It does, making America great again is what you feel it is. And just because you don't like this president, people need to quit throwing words out there. And I saw that the Democratic Party was doing that.
Isn't that claim of racism made so often now?
And it's watered down.
Almost doesn't mean anything. When it's almost like crying wolf, that old story when you cry wolf.
I grew up in the South.
And real racism.
I know what racism is.
And it does exist.
And it exists. And this was so funny about it. And that's what I said as guys, because you disagree with me, I'm going to call you a racist.
Right.
And I said, guys, it is insulting that they would continue to say that about this man. It is insulting that they would continue to say this because he's not from the establishment of being a politician.
Right.
It is insulting because I give him an opportunity because I said, if we want to know the truth, let's go to the truth. The truth is when it first started, the Democrat decided that they were going to go against the Constitution. And I said, think about it. And I said, I'm not that smart. I'm from South Georgia. I'm not that smart. But the Constitution says that you win presidency as the electoral votes. But all of a sudden, the Democrats decide, no, we're going to say there's a popular vote out there. He lost the election. Well, you're trying to fool the American people now. the people that's not reading, the people
Right.
that may not understand,
Right.
may be thinking, oh, they're right. She won the popular vote, so she should be president. No, that's not what the Constitution says.
Right.
That's not what it states. And then let's go back to something else. You know, when you're the leader, you're the head coach, you send a play in, we try to do the play. If the team decided that they don't want to do the play, the team is going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he comes into office, the first thing that happens is most of the Democratic people don't even come to the inauguration.
Yeah.
It's sort of like your father and mom at the house and the kids now disrespecting the parents.
Mm-hmm.
He is the leader. Like it or not, he's the leader. And I said, I respect people that's going to be the leader because sometimes you're going to take arrows in your back. But he's been on a constant attack, not just from the foreign, he's been in constant attack by domestic, his own people.
Right.
And you see what he's doing on the constant attack. And I said, guys, that's why I'm going to speak out for this president. He is the one that should be president because give him an opportunity if we come together and let's see what he can do. Make it fair.
Is that even more important now that we're all of a sudden in the last, 4 months, 3 months, 4 months, we have a crime wave that I haven't seen in years. And I'm not sure I've ever seen it this bad because in certain cities, not all over the country, but in certain cities, crime is going up by percentages never, ever before. Murder, assault, New York, Chicago, Portland, Seattle, Los Angeles, somewhat DC.
Yes.
Crime is just going up by numbers that I've never seen before. I mean, 20%, 30%.
Leadership.
I mean, shootings, 1 month shootings were up 140% in New York. 140.
It's leadership.
Or on a weekend in Chicago, 80, 90 people get shot. 80 or 90 people.
Well, it's leadership, and that's what makes me
Why is it
sad.
happening?
Leadership. And you look at the leadership in those cities, and I said, because this country was built on law and order. Like it or not, this country was built on law and order. And do you need to go and improve? Do you need to you probably do, but you do it through law and order. We have a system in place, you do it through law and order.
Right.
But when you have your leaders that go against that and they take the law away, you create chaos.
Right.
Chaos destroys. And that's what is happening right now in these cities. This beautiful New York City, they're letting
it's
it
terrible.
be destroyed.
I mean, it's breaking my heart.
Move. It is terrible. And I lived in New York. It is terrible. And I think the mayor, the governor need to be blamed for it. And I'm saying personal, when someone is hurt, because in the Constitution, again, I'm not that smart, are they not supposed to protect the citizen?
Yes, sir.
Their person and their property.
Yes.
That is in there.
That's the responsibility of state and local government, not the
right.
federal government. And in fact, it would be unconstitutional for the federal government to intervene unless there were an insurrection.
Right.
And we have a bad situation, but we don't have an insurrection.
Yes.
If he tried to do that, first of all, the courts would stop him, and number two, he would be disgraced as a president trying to undermine the Constitution.
But then they're not protecting the people. So
it's their job.
Thing is why can the people not sue those institutions there or sue them personally, because they're not doing their job?
Herschel, when I became mayor of New York, Bill Clinton was the president. Yes. Republican mayor, Democrat president. I never blamed the crime in New York on him, and I never asked him to reduce it. Right? Yes. It was my job.
Yes.
I knew that the president could help me. In his case, we were able to get some money for more police officers. We were able to get help from the Drug Enforcement Administration, but the primary responsibility was mine.
Yes.
I would get the credit for crime going down. I would get the blame for crime going up, and it should be that way.
Yes.
Because I'm the closest to it. Now, this is happening just in Democratic cities. And I think it's an effort, it's a dumb effort by them to undermine him.
But I
think they want this chaos.
Oh, they do. They do. They want
and it's
the
a
chaos.
terrible thing.
They want the chaos.
People are dying.
They want the chaos, and they want to blame it on this president here because, as I said, you have people in these small areas that do not get out papers and read, or do not have the internet, do not have the social media world, that they come home, they have one program to watch, where the program they watch is a program that misleading them of what's really going on.
Right.
It's misleading them of what's really going on. And that's the reason I'm speaking out. I want to say that is not the truth. Let me give you the truth.
This would be a good time to take a short break. How bad is it? Your back, knee, or neck pain? My knee pain was awful. I probably tried the same things you're trying to manage your pain. Topical ointments, pain relievers, fish oil, but nothing worked. Then I tried Omega XL. And here's why. The underlying cause of painful, achy joints and muscles is inflammation. The key is to knock down inflammation before it causes permanent damage. Backed by 35 years of research, that's exactly what Omega XL does. Nothing comes close to doing what Omega XL does. There's nothing like it. If you're suffering with painful, achy joints and muscles, stop wasting money and switch to Omega XL. Order Omega XL now and get a second bottle free. Visit OmegaXL.com/Rudy. That's OmegaXL.com/Rudy or call 1-800-844-4888. 800-844-4888. We're back with our very interesting interview with Hall of Famer Herschel Walker. So tell us, since Black Lives Matter, since the Trayvon Martin situation has been in the news, and it's both Black Lives Matter is both a saying and an organization. So if I say Black Lives Matter, who's going to disagree with that?
Yes.
I mean, of course, Black Lives Matter.
Well, I'm going to disagree with it.
Of course, other lives matter too. But
well, American lives matter, and in today's world, you have so many biracial kids today.
Of course you do,
that
right?
You can't say Black Lives Matter because they have more than
like
this.
Barack Obama.
They have more than just part of their Black lives. So I want to do part of their body matter. And I'm not.
I never thought of that.
Do part of their lives matter. My son is part Italian and part Spanish and part Black. So my thing is, I said, you know what? I'm going to stand with my son no matter whatever happens. So America lives matter. When you say Black lives matter, it's separate. And in the Bible, it not talks about separation, it talks about together. And that's what I tell people. That's the reason I said, guys, this is a new era. We have new people. Yes, we need to come together. And I said, let's go talk. Let's talk. Well, everyone want to have a closed fist, but not an open hand.
Right.
And I said, guys, you got to open your hand.
Now, the organization is even worse, though.
No.
The organization is a Marxist-dominated organization in which two terrorists helped to raise the money. One of them, who was convicted of terrorism, 58 years in prison. Bill Clinton let her out, and she's raising the money for them. And then you see what they do. I mean, they go into restaurants and harass people. I had a friend who was beaten up by them 2 days ago. They create these protests that immediately turn into riots, and people get killed, people get beaten up, stores get ruined. Yeah. What are they trying to do? What are they really? This is not intended to help black people, white people, or any people.
Well,
it's intended for something else.
What is sad is, when it came out Black Lives Matter, I didn't know that much about them. I happened to Google Black Lives Matter, and it said donate. Well, as I was getting ready to go donate, and I clicked on to donate, I saw that the money goes to Act Blue. So now I go to Act Blue. Act Blue is where the money goes to all Democratic parties, like different small Democratic parties. And I said, how can you talk about bringing something together when you're only giving money to one group?
Mm-hmm.
You're only giving money to one group, and then they talk about separation of families. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not something I can believe in. And what really disturbed me more than anything, what really disturbed me is when I started seeing all the riots with people with Black Lives Matter signs and holding that up. And then I saw someone with a Black Lives Matter sign, burning the Holy Bible, burning the flag and burning the cross. And I said, this is not something Herschel Walker is going to support. And this is not something I guarantee a lot of my friends are going to support. And I'm not sure whether, and that's the reason I get so angry at sports that going along with Black Lives. Have you guys read about what
Have they?
I don't know whether they read about it.
When you look at, I mean, they canceled basketball games, hockey games, baseball games.
Well, without coming up with solutions.
Do they know what this organization really is? Do they know it's, I mean, you point out one thing that is amazing to me. They're against what they call the nuclear family.
Yes.
They don't think there should be husbands.
Yes.
There shouldn't be any husbands. Whereas I think everybody feels that the idea of trying to create more nuclear families would be a good idea.
Yes, yes.
It would help the kids.
Yes.
It almost seems like it's something they want to do that would hurt, not just the black community, but any community where you would advocate that.
Well, anything that's going to call will hurt, I think is wrong. I disagree with it. And that's why I say I disagree with this. And I just think people need to stand up. But then I go back to education.
Mm-hmm.
If we have not educated people that is in these areas that don't have the opportunity to understand what Black Lives Matter, they see Black Lives Matter and they say, oh yeah, I am important. I am important. Well, you're right, you are. But what about someone else? Because, people talk about, I heard the Democratic Party talking about slavery, reparation, and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, who was around during slavery, first of all? And who are you paying the money to? Are you paying the money to some pastor somewhere? Or are you giving the money to, where's the money going? And I said, has anyone ever thought about paying all the white soldiers that may have died during the Civil War to free the slaves? Has anyone ever thought about that? Has anyone ever thought about that? So what we need to do is talk about equality.
Right.
Equality for everyone. And that's where you start making things equal, not talking about the past. He without sin cast the first stone. And there's been sin in a lot of different places. And there's no doubt I'm willing to help to make it better. And that's what I reached out to sports when this first started.
Right.
As guys, I love for us to come together and go to Washington, and we demand. This is what was so interesting. Senator Scott had a bill out where one party wouldn't even show up to even address the bill. And I'm saying,
the bill would have addressed the only real issue that came up here, which is when Mr. Floyd was killed.
Yes.
I know because I've been involved in policing for 17 years. Whatever else you think, the police officers acted against all police procedure.
Yes.
I mean, they either the one guy is a bad guy, or he's a poorly trained guy,
yes,
or whatever. But there are about 10 things that should have been done that could have prevented that. In city police department like New York's, I mean, where are the superior officers that are supposed to be there to? Why didn't the other guys try to stop him when he was obviously out of? He looks to me, Chauvin, I think his name is. The police. He looks to me like he almost like he's on drugs.
Yes.
He's got a look in his face like he doesn't know what's going on. He has the knee on Mr. Floyd's neck, and he's being told, "You're choking him. You're choking him. You're choking."
Yes.
He doesn't even react.
Right. But and that's one thing that and you're may disagree with me here, and that's one thing I said that we have as well, because we have a system that we have videos of everything.
Right.
I tell people sometimes, let's not rush to judgment soon.
No, you gotta know
I know this looked horrible, and this police was poorly trained, and we finding out all the poorly trained that he is. But there's been so many other videos you see, and as guys, we can't rush to judgment here. We have a protocol in place.
Right.
That I believe in.
And I do too. I mean,
I believe in this protocol.
That's what makes us civilized.
That's exactly
we don't
right.
decide. We don't decide who's innocent and guilty in the streets.
These dudes
are the old West.
That's why I tell people, guys, we have a system here in Washington that and we go back to Black Lives Matter, and since 2013, they raised over $5 billion. Where's that money going? No, why? If companies, these big companies that are giving millions and millions of dollars to Black Lives Matter, why don't you give it to the athletes, and let's come up to Washington. Let's force Congress to meet with Senator Scott. Let's force them, because I guarantee with that type of money, you can force different meetings to happen. Is that not true? That we can change things through the process. Well, right now, no one seems to want to change things. But it seemed to happen in sports, and this was sad to me. I want to kneel. Okay, what are you kneeling about? I'm not going to play. So, okay, what are you not playing about? Because what is that going to do? I'm not going to stomp my feet with my hands folded, my fists clenched, and stand in the corner. What are you going to do to change things?
Right.
Well, one of the things I suggest as guys, I'm going to blame Herschel Walker too. I should have went into some of these cities when I was playing and did more community service. I should have went in and told some of these kids that didn't have a father to say, you know what, you can make it. You're going to be okay. I want you to do this, and done something like that. I did it in my hometown.
Right.
I did it in some of the towns around me, but what about these other kids? And I say,
well, you're doing it now, Herschel. You're making a big. I mean, I think it came in at just the right time. You were a real balance to just one way of looking at it. And since we're in a situation now where I think you'd agree the country's in crisis.
Yes.
I mean, the slightest little thing happens, we get a riot.
Yes.
And then just basically these crime rates are going up. And here's what worries me. When the crime rates went up in the late 1960s in New York, they didn't go down for 30 years. It's much harder to bring crime down. It's like an avalanche when it goes up. So, I mean, the choice it comes down to is Trump or Biden. So, since you know him so well, how confident are you that Trump can handle this?
Okay, I'm 100% confident that President Trump can handle this. And let me tell you the reason why. Former Vice President Biden had been in office for 47 years. 47 years. Well, he's had a lot of support. He's vice president to a African-American president. What did he ever do? And I'm not putting him down. What did he ever do? The things he said, what did he ever do? Well, now he got the steam because he's in his 70s. And don't get me wrong, now don't get mad at me. I say I'm gonna call it the grandfather effect.
The what?
The grandfather effect. What you mean by that? Your grandfather get old where you start saying things and you know it's kind of silly, so you overlook it because he's old.
Right.
Well, now he's saying these sometimes off the wall things and people just ignore it. And it's like, no, guys, that means he's not gonna change. That's him. It is set in. But we have this Democratic Party that pushing him to become the most powerful man in the world. And that's why I said, guys, President Trump, Donald Trump, he's got his steam. He's a fighter. He has kept the foreign leaders understand, I'm not going to play with that man. That man is serious. Right. He had changed the economy, and now they blame him for everything. The economy gone bad, so it's Donald Trump's fault. No. People in America need to know there's a pandemic going on. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. And the Democratic Party can't solve it either. Because if they could and they're not, they're not good for America anyway.
Right.
If they have a solution but they're not handing it out right now, not good for America anyway. President Trump early on gave us ways to make things better.
Yes.
And I said, that's what people don't understand. This president has been working.
Well, I think your contribution to America at this time is really crucial because you give it a different perspective. You're asking people to open the book, not just take the headline, but open the book and see what's inside about these movements that are going on. And also, for years and years and years, I'm a Republican since about 1977, 78. Used to be a Democrat.
I was.
So, since I've been a Republican, there's always been, Republicans should do more to reach out to the African American, the Hispanic community. Well, I don't think anybody could say that he hasn't done that. You go back 4 years ago, he promised, give me a chance. Things can't get any worse. I can improve things. And no matter what you want to say about it, he improved things.
Yes.
More jobs, most ever, best wages, lowest unemployment.
Education.
Funded the colleges that Obama wouldn't fund.
And you know what's strange about that? They would say, oh, he was thinking about it. Well, yeah, 8 years he didn't do it.
You can think about a lot of things, but you got to do it.
And
that's even worse if you're thinking about it and do it.
And what's strange about that, what you said, Obama was African American. Mm-hmm. Well, would you not think that would have been one of the first things on his agenda? I would assume.
Right.
To help his people.
Right.
I
think there's no doubt he's done much more, including the prison reform, and something that Biden created, he fixed. Well, it's so wonderful to have someone who thinks for themselves, Herschel. Yes. Not only were you a great athlete, but when you keep saying you're not so smart, you're pretty smart, Herschel. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Herschel.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you. The interview with Herschel Walker was very, very, very interesting and very informative. And I think certainly shows the diversity of opinion that exists in America, in all groups in America, whether it's African American, Hispanic, every other group, mainstream groups, if you want to call them that, whatever. America is not a country where there's one opinion and everybody must have that opinion. And I think that's emerging very, very strongly now among African Americans, among blacks. I think there's a great deal of understanding of the years and years and years and years and years they've been taken advantage of by the Democrat Party, in which they've been led into, certain groups have been led into dependency in exchange for votes. And that it's almost a policy of the Democrat Party to try to keep as many people in dependency, to bring more people into dependency in order to maintain their power. Because I think Democrats all throughout the country have demonstrated that power is more important than anything else to them. If you want a really interesting explanation of all this, go get David Horowitz's book, Blitz, and read the chapters about the scandal that's been going on for 50 years, which is basically the con operation that the Democratic Party has run in the African American community.